Hey gaming fans, so today I have another Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile, and this one is Ojama. And these guys are fun because you could do a whole bunch of different things with these guys. There's so many different strategies, and this deck I tried to put a bunch of different strategies in here just so you have options. So anyways, let's get to the deck. So to begin with, we play the standards of the 3 Ojama green, 3 Ojama black, and 3 Ojama yellow. Now I know that I've seen quite a few builds where they only do 2 of each Ojama, but we are really focusing on these guys, and if you play 2 of each one and draw 2 of the same one, you're kind of in trouble because your Ojama Magic card will not work anymore. So it really does hinge upon getting, you know, these guys into your hand. And so that's the normal Ojamas. So they're all pretty simple. They're all beasts. Level 2, 0 attack, 1000 defense. They're all the same. So now going on to the effect monsters of the deck, we have 3 Ojama blue, which are pretty cool. I mean, they have to be destroyed by battle, which kind of sucks. But when this card is sent to the graveyard after being destroyed by battle, you get to add 2 Ojama cards from your deck to your hand. So not just monsters, but any card that has Ojama. So I mean, your best bet would be to set it and hope your opponent actually attacks it. The other option is to obviously attack into something to get the cards. Then for the last of the Ojamas, we have 3 of the Ojama reds. And these guys are also kind of critical in this deck because this is what gets these guys onto the field. So what Ojama Red does is when this card is normal summon, you can special summon up to 4 Ojama monsters from your hand in attack position. So that could be any of them. So pretty much any of the red ones, the blue ones, all of them. So you could pretty much summon him and then summon 4 more Ojama monsters from your hand. And then to round out the monsters, I threw in 2 Tragodias. I was just thinking this deck can build up a huge hand, and you might not have any other actions to do at this point. Or on your opponent's turn, you can build up a huge hand. And so if they go to attack, you can drop a really massive Tragodia. So that was my only thought. And it kind of helps keep you alive. So that's it for the monsters. Pretty simple lineup there. On to the spells. So we have 3 Ojama Country. So this is their field spell. Once per turn, you could send 1 Ojama card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon 1 Ojama monster from your graveyard. And while you control a face-up Ojama monster, switch the original attack and defense of all monsters on the field. So this could really cripple your opponent, especially if a lot of their monsters are very high attack and very low defense. Obviously, it's not going to do anything with the Link monsters, but you get the idea. It still can help run over a lot of things. And some of your Ojamas can get up to pretty big attack power. So the big key of this deck is Ojama Magic, which is a spell card that doesn't do anything when you can't even activate it. So when this card is sent from the hand to the or field to the graveyard, add 1 each Ojama green, yellow, and black from your deck to your hand. So that's why it's important that you have to have the green, yellow, and black in your deck. If you draw, say, 3 green, you can't use this card because you have to add 1 of each color. And it doesn't do anything else on its own, so you have to either set it, hope your opponent destroys it, or most of the time what you're going to do with this is discard it through something like Ojama Country or the other cards that can discard. Then I threw in 2 Ojama Delta Hurricane. So this is kind of like you get the yellow, green, and black Ojamas out. Then you can activate this card and destroy all cards your opponent's side of the field. So this will just basically wipe your opponent's board, which is pretty cool. Then because we're playing a lot of normal monsters that fit this criteria, we're playing Tri-Whites. 2 Tri-Whites. Target 3 level 2 or lower normal monsters in your graveyard and special summon them from the graveyard. So this is kind of like your Monster Reborn on steroids. You can summon all 3 Ojamas with this card, and this will help get off your Hurricane or go for some good Link plays. Then, because there is a fusion monster, I added in 1 instant fusion to help also get out another Ojama. And polymerizations. So we got 2 of those because you can fuse into a few different fusion monsters. So that was our spell lineup. Now we're going to go into the traps. So probably the best trap in the deck, and that is Ojama Pajama. Really weird name. And this one does the armed dragon support, but I'm not playing any armed dragons in this deck, so the first effect is pretty irrelevant. If an armed dragon monster or a light machine fusion monster you control would be destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can banish 1 Ojama card from your hand face up in the field or graveyard instead. Which sounds like a great effect, and it would be cool to build a deck around that, but this one doesn't focus on that. The 2 effects, though, are during your main phase, you can add 1 Ojama card from your deck to your hand and then discard a card, which is totally works with this deck because you're probably going to grab, depending if you don't have it all in your hand already, is the Ojama magic, and then you can just discard it right away to get the effect off to get all 3 to your hand. But there's other cards that you also might want to discard, and that would be the Ojama duels. The other effect on this is if this card is sent to the graveyard, you could special summon as many of your banished Ojama monsters as possible. You don't really banish in this deck, so it's not really going to be a thing. So we play 2 Ojama Duo, kind of like the Ojama Trio card. This summons 2 Ojama tokens, Beast, Light, 2, level 2, 0 attack and defense to your opponent's side of the field in the defense position. And they cannot be attributed for a tribute summon, and each time one is destroyed, its controller takes 300 damage. Now, I wouldn't activate this unless you were ready to attack those tokens and possibly do piercing damage. Other than that, I probably wouldn't want to activate the effect, because you don't want to give your opponent tokens that they can use for a link summon. And then during each player's turn, except the turn that this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon 2 Ojama monsters with different names from your deck. So that's the effect you're going to want to use. And so it's a really good card also to discard with Ojama Pajama or any other card that allows you to discard, which is why I threw in 2 Raigeki breaks. Because this is going to help you discard either your duo or your Ojama magic if you need to get that out of your hand. And it also destroys 1 card on the field, so you can't lose. And then I rounded the deck off with 3 Solemn Judgments, just to give some kind of negation, you know, just in case your opponent tries to do anything, you can just disrupt their play. Also, if they try to disrupt your play, you got a card that can stop that. Now for the extra deck, we play 2 of the Ojama Emperor. So this guy's pretty fun. He's a Link 3, 3 beast monsters, including an Ojama monster, which it most likely will be all Ojama monsters. And while Ojama Country is in the field zone, this card gains 3,000 attack. So he's got 0 attack right away. But the field spell will boost him up to 3,000 attack. And your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from attacks on this card instead. You could target 1 non-link Ojama monster in your graveyard, special summon it. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck, except fusion monsters, which is fine. And you can only use the effect once per turn. So you do play some pretty good fusion monsters, which I'm going to get to soon. So we got also one of the El Mirage, just in case you need to, you know, send 1 to the graveyard and get a link play out of it. 1 Pentastag. This is good if you can get into him for the piercing. Again, with your Ojama Duel, if you could get the Ojama Duel tokens out, then you can pierce over them. So pretty good. 1 Underclock Taker. Just a, you know, it's pretty standard Link monster. Triple Burst Dragon, because it's 3 monsters, so your Ojama tokens can go into this guy. Power Code Talker, I threw in that because it's just 3 monsters again, so you can do 3 of your Ojama monsters just to go into them. And Borrow Lord because, you know, if you can pull him out, that's pretty cool. He might be a little bit trickier because he requires effect monsters, and the Ojamas are not effect monsters. So for the fusion, we got the Ojama Knight and the Ojama King. So these are your 2 Ojama cards, and they got the very beefy defense. So you want to have the Ojama Country out on the field So to make sure that their attack and defense are switched, so then he'd be 3,000 and he'd be 2,500. The Ojama Knight, you could pull it with instant fusion because he's a 5. So even if he doesn't last, like if you just instant fusion him out, use him as link material, then you can bring him back with Ojama Country or your Ojama Emperor. And whether you bring him out in attack mode or defense mode depends on the situation. And same thing with the Ojama King. He requires 1 green, 1 yellow, and 1 black. And the cool thing about these guys is they also disrupt your opponent's field. So the Ojama Knight, you select up to 2 of your opponent's monster zones, and those cannot be used. So they're now down to only 3 zones. And this one actually does 3 zones, so then they're only down to 2 zones that they're allowed to use. So, you know, if you get these 2 guys out, you can pretty much lock your opponent. Then we got 2 First of Dragons. I always say Fist of Dragon. First of Dragons, because you can make these. They're just 2 normal monsters, so your polymerization, any of your 2 Ojama cards, well, normal Ojama monsters. And you can only control 1 of First of Dragons, and this card cannot be destroyed by battle, except by battle with a normal monster, and it's unaffected by other monsters' effects. So a really cool card if you can pull this guy out. And then I just threw in, because they're all level 2s, just some XYZs that you can go into. So you got your Ronin Raccoon guy, which helps with beasts. This guy is just a beefy defense. The Gachi Genatsu, he can get up to pretty good defense, and then if you get your Ojama Country going, you switch it over, so he becomes a really good attack. And 1 Sky Cavalry, just because he's just level 2 level 2 monsters for a 2,000 attack. And this card cannot be destroyed by battle while it has XYZ material. And at the end of the damage step, this card battle an opponent's monster, you can detach 1 material and return the other 1 to the hand. But you have to be careful with your country out, because then his attack becomes 0, so you wouldn't play him if you were doing that play. Anyways, yeah, that's the deck, and it's a fun deck. It can pull off a lot of different things. And like I said, it does give you some pretty big hands that once you start discarding these Ojama magics, and you get like tons of Ojamas in your hand, it makes really big Trigodias, so you got that play. You got your spamming of your Ojamas to make links. You got your fusion plays, so it's got a lot of different things you could do based on your hand. Anyways, hope you liked the deck. Let me know what you think of the Ojama deck that I put together. Throw some suggestions down below. There's lots of cards that we can change out, but I always like to hear what you got to say. Anyways, hope you liked the deck. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.